Welcome everyone to architecting applications for Windows Phone RT and Windows RT. Obviously, WinRT and WinPhone RT share the same core, so it makes a lot of sense to optimize your architecture for maximum reuse of code. So I give an overview of how you can do that, how you should do that, and that's basically it. Common application scenarios and best practices. But just quickly, a couple of words about myself. So I'm Carl Otz. I work as a Microsoft technical consultant at Symbio. Symbio is the biggest privately held IT company in Finland. We have around 300 people working here, and another 1,000 in China and Nordics and US as well. I'm a Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8 trainer, and I'm also a Windows Azure Insider. And I co-founded the Young Developers Finland, which is an organization that aims to bring development of applications to the masses of next generation. And I'm also a Microsoft student partner. And as everybody else speaking here, I've also catched the cold, so please bear with me. Okay, so what we'll cover, we'll basically go through what is shared core, what does it mean and what it doesn't mean. There's a lot of confusion around this topic because it's not very easy thing to present very simple in a simplified way. There's so many different approaches how you can see what shared core means. And usually if one tries to simplify the whole shared core thing in one or two images or diagrams, it usually you have to give room for some errors there. So we'll look at that. Then obviously we'll go look at the usability and user experience differences there. We'll discuss what is porting and how does it relate to maximum reuse, and then the best practices and common scenarios, and then we'll have a couple of demos as well. And please just if you have questions, ask them anytime. I also have some little swag to give out for good questions as rewards as well. So let's move to the first part. So shared WinRT core. As you probably heard before, Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8 share the same basic core. What this means is that in a very high level, as you'll see here, this bluish circle here represents the area, the smaller one, which is just for clarity's sake, this is the Windows Phone part, and phone is here, and this bigger one is the Windows part, which is over there, and in the middle the shared part. And I've taken out some of the biggest things that are shared, like the networking, Bluetooth, proximity sensors, location file system, the whole core application model, obviously, and some asynchronous threading and so on. Some of them are very interesting that they actually are shared. Like for example, the networking APIs indeed are shared between the two, and even in code-wise, even actually the in-app purchasing model is shared, even though they work totally differently in both platforms. And obviously, while time goes on, we'll see more and more stuff becoming shared or common within these two platforms. And this is basically the Windows 8 side. So as you know, you can do two kinds of you can do applications in two kind of way for Windows 8. You can do the old regular way, the desktop applications, where you basically it's your free choice of weapon there, and then you can do Windows Store applications. And when you do Windows Store applications, then you actually have to go through the WinRT layer there in order to access the Win32 and COM and all this APIs down there. And let's delve into these in a bit more detail. But just first, some couple of definitions, so just so that we're clear. I'm going to talk about three different, or obviously there will be more abbreviations besides these as well, but we'll have acronyms like CLR, which means Common Language Runtime. That basically means like that's always shared in like regular .NET Word. It's basic things like how do we actually execute the application model and all this stuff. Then we have BCL, so base class library. Base class library includes things like string objects and very common or basic libraries, as the name suggests. And then we have the framework specific stuff, the framework class library. And one example of what's inside the framework FCL framework class library is like charms in Windows 8. And let's take a look at these. How do we see these? So these are the same Windows Store and Windows Desktop application model approaches as I had on the previous picture, but now I've delved a little bit deeper. So now we have the Windows Store side. We actually have over the Windows runtime, we have the same CLR as we have in the desktop side. In desktop side, we have the all of the .NET frameworks that are supported in Windows 8. So, like from 1 to 4.5. The CLR is the same between those two. Then, let me actually just highlight this one here. So, then on the almost, yeah, the middle one. Yeah, the base class library. That's previously when we moved from one .NET environment to another, like from regular .NET to .NET for Silverlight, or from .NET for Silverlight to .NET for Silverlight for Windows Phone. Previously, this has always been the same, but now in Windows runtime approach, this actually is not the same. The base class libraries are not exactly the same. So we have a little bit more limited base class library than we have on the .NET side. And then obviously the framework class libraries are totally different. So let's maybe use another one than the pen. So here on the desktop side, we have the regular .NET framework class libraries, and on the WinRT side, Windows Runtime side, we have the .NET for Windows Store applications, which obviously has their own APIs. And on Windows Runtime or Windows Store app side, we also have the Chakra engine, which is the Internet Explorer 10 JavaScript engine, which powers also the JavaScript side of Windows Store applications. But for the sake of this topic, we'll only consider the Windows Runtime side without the Chakra engine there. So the basic .NET kind of approach here. And let's move on. Did I actually miss something? No. And this is the Windows Phone runtime side. And I have to note that this is the managed application model for Windows Phone 8. I'll quickly cover also the other application models, but this is the most closest one to Windows runtime of the application models. And again, as you see, it's fairly similar. It's a limited set of base class libraries and different framework class libraries which is this time called .NET for Windows Phone side. And it's interesting to note that it's actually, so I'm just cheating over here to make it actually right. So the Windows Phone runtime is implemented in C++ and projected into the managed one, so C# and VB.NET. And we don't have a projection of HTML5 or JavaScript in Windows Phone runtime. But in Windows runtime, we have a projection of JavaScript, HTML5 of these same libraries. So as you know, you can write HTML5 apps for Windows 8. And this is when it's getting more interesting. Actually, Windows Phone side is a larger field to cover, because then we can also do native applications or hybrid applications where we can write on top of Windows Phone RT or on top of Win32 or COM. We can write direct 3D, not direct 2D currently, but direct 3D only, direct 3D side of DirectX. And we can use these to build kind of like either DirectX applications which use Windows Phone runtime for UI, or vice versa, some bits and pieces of DirectX in a regular Windows Phone runtime application. And then we have the old legacy application models, which are basically the same thing we've seen previously. So the only difference is that in here the base class libraries were not limited, so they were based on .NET 4 since the Mango, and we had the in the framework class library side we had obviously .NET for Silverlight for Windows Phone, which at first was a little bit more limited than the .NET for Silverlight, but then it was brought up to speed in the Mango update. And then we had of course still have the XNA approach for legacy applications. Those were quite a bit of different approaches. And just like a couple of words more about the specifics of the Windows Phone runtime. So these are basically the numbers of how many things are different and how many things are not yet there. So basically we have the full Windows runtime is around 11,000 classes, and then we have a subset of those which are adapted for Windows Phone runtime. There's a bit less than 3,000 members. And of course there are some Windows Phone runtime members that are only there for Windows Phone because of the obvious differences between phone and tablet, PC, hybrid, slate, all these things we have on the big Windows side. And some things that are included in the phone-specific side. So here we have things like speech synthesis, we have speech recognition, we have the personal information classes, we have access to lock screen manager, and things like that, lenses, for example. Okay. Let's move on to the next section then. So how do we actually target different or both platforms? There are quite many strategies to do this. Well, obviously you should architect your code so that you can maximally use the things that are on the code behind. So use model view model or some other approach. because the views are totally different already from the usability side, because the screen estate is this small or this big in the different platforms. Just like basic architecture decisions. You can use portable .NET code in portable class libraries. We saw a demo of portable class libraries in the yesterday's keynote by Jukka. Then we can do common Windows runtime API. So we can basically add as link. I'll go through all of these in more detail, and then we can do Windows runtime components. If you want to use, for example, C# code in managed code in unmanaged side, or vice versa. If you want to use C# code in your C++ application, or C++ code in C# side, and there's actually a little bit different. They're a little bit different on phone and 8. So in phone you can create Windows runtime components. So these ones. In phone you can create those only in C++, but in the big Windows side you can create these in both managed and unmanaged sides. So you can do Windows runtime components out of C# applications or C# classes, as we saw on the keynote as well. Then we can do conditional statements for the compiler conditionals. For like if you have a little bit differences with the namespaces, like some things reside in Windows namespace and some things reside in the Windows Phone namespace. For those kind of things we can use the compiler conditionals, and usually that's enough so that we don't have to do anything bigger. But you have to be very careful with these, because if you have like compiler conditionals in all over your application logic, then it's going to be very difficult to manage, because obviously you have very complex hierarchy there than in your runtime. And then we can use extension methods to cover those implementation differences, where basically it means that we abstract those into wrapper classes. And let's start going over these. So this is a very regular example of how you should architect your applications using your cross-platform applications using PLC, so platform portable class libraries. So it's a regular MVVM, and basically, as you see, you have in your Windows Store application, the startup logic and navigation and things like that are platform specific, and then you have your views which are, of course, platform specific, and then the same thing on the Windows Phone side, and they both use some of the data models and view models are shared in portable class library. And you can also abstract some of the platform functionalities so that they are actually implemented differently on the phone and big Windows, but they are still defined. The interfaces are still defined in the PLC. And yeah, the platform-specific functionality obviously was there as well. And now let's have a demo about this. Let's see. Okay, so this is very simple application. I'll just very quickly go over this. So I have one project. Do you guys in the back see this? Okay. So I have one project in this solution that is the portable class library. Then I have the Windows 8 project, and then I have the Windows Phone 8 project. And in the portable class library project, I have, for example, set up some sample data, which is then consumed in both of the Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8 side. This is a very simple application that actually just shows some images in this point. There's just one of the sample data images there. And then I have albums view model and album view model, and basically one albums view model holds bunch of album view models, and album view models can have the multiple pictures. So basically this is like the very, very crude but gets the job done. So what I have here is a method for loading albums. So I just create hard-coded albums here, 4 albums, and add their names here, and populate the sample data. And then in the album, it's very basic view model. I'm actually I'm not even notifying anything of changes over here. So it's not very elegant solution, but still is functional. And here I have, for example, a function where I load images, so that when I move, for example, in the Windows 8 side in flip view, then I can get to the next picture of inside one album, and then obviously the picture view model as well. This was the portable class library, and then let's take the Windows Phone one. As you see, no, this one. So here in albums view, let's actually just look from the code. It's maybe more efficient this way. So basically, here actually on the onNavigated to method, when the application or this view is navigated to, I just call from the albums view model the load albums async method, and then add that view model as data context for my view. And this load albums async is the one we saw. So actually, it's one which I actually closed. So the one from the portable class library from this view model. And then of course the same thing in the Windows Phone side. So in the Windows Phone, the view is of course different, but the code behind here should give you the same idea. So in the onNavigated to method, I'm adding again fetching the data from the view model, the sample data, and then adding that as data context for the view. And let's see how this looks like. So I've selected the Windows Phone application as my startup project, so I can then just hit the emulator, and hopefully we'll see. So So these are the sample images we had. This one's the first one I showed you in the Visual Studio preview function. Very simple, doesn't really do anything right now. and there's something on the application bar as well. And then let's just select the Windows 8 application, set this one as a startup project. Here. And then I can just launch this one. Let's see which screen does it run on then. Of course, this screen. Let's try something else. So let's run it on the simulator so that we can actually you can actually see it as well. So obviously it's going to take a little bit of time. I didn't have this one running. As you know, if you've done some Windows 8 development before, this is actually not a virtual machine or emulator or anything. This actually remote desktops into my local computer. So that's why it took a little bit of time. So you saw there was my login picture, and it showed me signing in. And obviously, because it's remote desktoping there, it always goes to my desktop first, because Skype is one of the things that gets launched on the on startup. So, but finally we have the application here running on big Windows, and then we have it also on simulator, and they are using, as we saw, they're using the same data, and obviously the user experience differences and screen sizes are totally taken into consideration. Obviously not very well, but we are still using different layouts. We are using controls that are appropriate for displaying relevant this kind of data. So we are using grid view on the Windows 8 side, and list view on the Windows Phone side. Okay, and let's kill this one and get back to the presentation. Nope. Okay, we just have to deal with the taskbar there. Okay, and just a quick view on what was in. Okay, yes. Okay, this is better. So what's portable in the sample application, and what was not? I'll just tick these ones out. So as we saw, well, when we want to go and use some actual data, I'm going to show you a quick demo about that in a sec. When we want to load some data from our actual local machine or emulator in the phone case, then we actually we are already in a point where we have to do some platform-specific stuff, because accessing file systems is or the image libraries, picture libraries, is done in a little bit different way on the platforms. Then we also have this new send/receive side. That one. That's meant for when we're going to add a Bluetooth connection and sending from the phone side to Windows 8 side. Not going to demo that because I have it running on the emulator, but still we're going to add some work there. As we saw, the connection methods use the connectivity of Bluetooth is actually something that can be shared. It's on the one of the things that's same on the Windows runtime and Windows Phone runtime. So one of the things that's in the intersection of the nice circles. And no, the album picture, that wasn't platform specific. Sorry for that. So obviously the models were the same as we already saw. And let's look at those in a later demo. How we can actually share models and view models in another way is add as link. And here I've added the to-do item model and maybe model as links. So you'll see this little teeny tiny shortcut icon there, which marks that when I actually make some changes to the model or view model, then it's going to be already done in both of the projects. And just to demonstrate to you that it's not just copying, I'm gonna head over to the second demo right now, and this time taking the laser pointer mode out. Let's see if it helps. In the meantime, does anyone have any questions? Okay. So this is the same project I just showed you. It's built into a little bit closer to the sending between different form factors, but well, actually, yeah. But we are missing the connection side. So how to actually make them connect using the Bluetooth, pair each other, and then send the image. And we are going to do just that. So let's start with the Windows 8 side. This time, I select the View Models folder and just right-click. Just right-click and select Add an existing item. And then I have here a shared code folder where I have a class named Peer Connector. And instead of just hitting Add, I'll add it as link, so that we can then so that it's actually shared with both of them. So I'm just very quickly hook it up also here on the Windows Phone view model folder as well, and then we'll see what's that actually about. So shared code Peer Connector, and we have it also here. And let's actually check that. Oh, and it seems that I didn't add it as a link. So there's the small arrow that says here's something more and add as a link. Okay. Again. Add as link. And here we go. And now when I open this one, I'm not going to go through this. This is just all the pairing and connection things implemented. But what I'm going to do instead is that I'm just going to hit up a breakpoint here, and just to show you that it's actually is using the same code. And let's again select the Windows Phone application as startup project and run this one. And we should then, updates are available. And now it's still deploying, yeah. The old application was still there. now that I select the connect button from the app bar, it actually breaks here into the into the breakpoint I just set. And when I stop it and run it on Windows 8, so just set a startup project and not local machine. Okay, lesson learned. If you're demoing different solutions, then the Visual Studio actually remembers your selection of last used selection of which one you are using. And now we have selected Windows 8 as startup project and running it on the simulator. And now you see it actually fetches me data from my local machine. You didn't see local data on the emulator because phone side emulator because there wasn't any, obviously. But if we were running that on the phone, we would have sample images there. And here in the application bar, we have the connect button again. And when we hit it, we actually hit the same breakpoint in the peer connector. And this is, again, not an example of how do you do user experience transformation from phone to tablet. Because obviously, if you are using this one as a tablet, you usually don't reach the middle side with your fingers. This is just for demonstration purposes. But let's get on with the presentation. And for some reason, I still again have a laser pointer here. Okay, so this is an example of a case where there are different, some differences small differences in code between Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8. This has to do with thread handling dispatchers. I'm not going to go into too much details here, just to show you that the implementation is different. One way to obviously one way to go over this is the if conditional blocks or compiler conditionals, because it's only one line. That's actually different. That's totally fine. But as discussed, if you have a lot of these one-line changes, or if you have some other changes inside there, it's going to be very unmanageable and quite hard to maintain. Here's another example of how do we do. It is a Windows 8 side of how do we handle HTTP responses. It's very nice, very neat. We just await for request to get response async, and it's done. It's 2 lines for us. Then we can just start using our data. In Windows Phone 8 side, it's not as easy. We actually had to listen for the callback there, and we had to implement it ourselves. So this is not just one line change, even though they are doing the same thing. So this is a case where we can actually use the extension methods, and this is the implementation. So basically, we just implement our own asynchronous version of the HTTP response, so that it acts the same way as it would act in the Windows 8 side. So we just implement the callback in here and return it as a HTTP web response task. And then we can go on and use it again here, so that now we combine that if we are using Windows Phone, then we should use that extension class, and then our actual call implementation can be the same here. it sounds quite good, but it's actually this is word from my boss. After I've done this, the performance is abysmal. Really, it's bad. So if you can't find another way, then go on, use extension methods, but beware, you have been warned. All right. Then let's move on to some best practices. These are the two top reasons for both of the platforms why do applications fail certifications. So in Windows Phone side, people tend to use, developers usually like black, and developers most often don't test their application with not the other teams. It will be very easy to test. It's actually documented everywhere. The Marketplace Test Kit tests it for you, but nevertheless, it's something that tends to go forgotten. And then in Windows 8 side, there's the privacy policy issue. So when you are creating an application from scratch, from file new project, then your application, by default in the application manifest, there's only one thing that you are asking for. Only one of the user. There's like a set of privileges that you can ask from the user, like can I access your personal data, can I go through your documents, can I access internet, and things like that. And one of the things that, the only thing that's ticked on by default is I want to use internet, because obviously most of the applications are connected. But when you leave that box checked, and submit your application to the store, even though you don't use actually internet connection in your application, you will fail certification if you don't provide a privacy policy stating that what data, if any, do you collect and how do you use it. And it's no clear documentation on how to do your privacy policy, because obviously applications gather data very differently, but the main thing to take out here is that if you are going to use internet, obviously most of you are, then you have to have a privacy policy, and that's it. It can be a link to your website, but it has to be accessed from the Charms bar, which I can't show you on the presentation mode, but from the Charms bar's settings menu of your application, there has to be a link. And there has to be a link when you submit your application in the certification process to the store. In the store dashboard, you have to provide a link to a privacy policy as well. So keep that in mind. And again, it's nevertheless, even though you don't use internet, it's still by default it's checked. If you don't use internet and you don't check it, it's actually going to go very fast through the certification. I've seen applications go through certification in like 2 or 4 hours to Windows 8 store, when there were no extra permissions asked, so it was a very simple offline game. Then another best, or actual best practice, do not share any XAML. Really, just don't. But you can, of course, share your like user controls, resource dictionaries, and all these things, but do not start a migration or porting project by copy-pasting your XAML. It's going to be ugly, and it's going to be unmaintainable, and it's going to be ugly. And ugly. Really ugly. So obviously, different platforms require different user experience. And this is an example of a same first-party application, the People Hub in the People app in Windows 8 and the People Hub in Windows Phone. In Windows 8 side, we are using Grid View, and in Windows Phone side, we are using the jump list. Was it? Let me see. No, it was up there. Yeah, long list selector, which is now part of the SDK, but previously was known in the Silverlight toolkit as jump list. So that's very much the same thing we have, for example, in the semantic zoom side. We have a group of data that can be listed, grouped, or set of groups of data that can be grouped in a meaningful way, like alphabetically, in terms of size, excuse me, or some other way. In Windows 8 side, we can do semantic zoom, and we see the different categories there. And Windows Phone side, we do we can use pivot control, so that here's one category. If we swipe to the left or right, we get to the next category, and so on. Sometimes even the long list selector that was in the previous slide can be seen as kind of this mimicking this semantic zoom. For example, the People Hub is a very good example of that. And once you selected an item, then obviously there's lots of data to be displayed usually, and because of the form factors, we don't usually use tablets in portrait mode, especially our tablets, the Windows 8 tablets, because they are very wide screen. They are not squares of 5 to 3, or what's the hedelmäpeli approach here. So it's very natural to use a horizontal scroll in tablet. And again, we use the phone in portrait mode very often. Well, if you use the start screen, you have to use it in portrait mode. So it's very natural to do it vertically. And how much time do we have now? We can take. Actually, I'm going to do one demo first, and then we'll take questions. So actually, you can go and download this one yourself, both in Windows 8 and Windows Phone. So I'm not going to demo the application itself, but how did we approach this? So Moomin Video Store was an application created first on Windows 8 for the Windows 8 Nordic launch. It was a very simple application where you can learn about the characters and download videos from buy and download videos using internal application purchasing or in-app purchasing, and download them from Azure. And we ported it also to Windows Phone 8, and basically all the core models and view models were unchanged, even though we didn't plan to port it to phone at first, but just because we used pretty standard model view model approach. Excuse me. And the Windows Azure backend in Windows 8 side, it was used for distributing the videos and also keeping track of the in-app purchases, because after each in-app purchase you get a receipt that you can then save on your server, And as some bloggers have noted, if you don't actually save and check for the receipt, the user can then actually cheat and actually make changes to the XML file used by both stores that that can claim that I have bought this item, but obviously you should use receipts to prevent that from happening. It's the default way. In the Windows Phone site, we didn't use the backend to store videos or download videos, but we still use it for receipts. It was a very simple VCF application. And some lessons learned that the stores are different, the in-app purchases are totally different. In Windows 8 side, you can have only consumable elements, so you can only buy one thing once, but you can have them like expire, so it can be 1 day, 7 days, or 1 year, and then you have to buy it again. In Windows Phone side, there's no time restrictions, but there is consumables and the other thing, durables. Who said that? Okay, you'll get a nice present from me after the talk. Durables and consumables, and obviously consumable is something that you can buy over and over and over again. So the business model can be, or in some cases has to be totally different. In our case, obviously, when we were selling videos, it was kind of hard thing to think of that side. And in Windows Phone side, there are download limitations, so you can't actually, if you are downloading something over the air which is over 20 megabytes, then you have to have it plugged into Wi-Fi, and when it's over 100 megabytes, then you have to have it plugged into Wi-Fi and charging. And in Finland, very silly restrictions because everybody has good network connection. But that was something that was obviously we had to take care of from porting the Windows 8 application to Windows Phone 8. And of course, the media players were a little bit different. In Windows 8 side, we actually built our own custom video player, and in Windows 8 side, we used the media player launch task for that one. All right. So that was it from my part. Now I open up the floor for questions. I have one year Nokia Premium Developer Program voucher to give out, and some Pluralsight 1 month cards. So Pluralsight is excuse me, this kind of video training library for .NET and other technologies. Very good stuff, mostly MVPs posting everything that's very, very new. I warmly recommend that one. So let's have some questions then. Okay, over here.
Do you know that you...
Wait, could you wait for the mic?
So if you want to make an app for both Windows Phone and Windows 8, would you make one of those first and then port to other, or would you do those at the same time?
Yeah. Okay. So the question, yeah, it probably was heard from the mic. So there are two kind of approaches. You can first make one application and then port it to the other. You can from start you can optimize for maximum reuse of the code, and it totally depends on your situation. That, for example, in our case, the Moomin case, it was simple that we only got funding for the or the client only asked for the Windows 8 side, so we only built that one first. And afterwards, we got a request to make a port for the Windows Phone side. So that was an easy decision for us, no decision at all. But if you already know that you're going to do both, then I would totally say that, okay, you should from start optimized for maximum reuse. Anyone else? Back there.
Okay, I'm developing application for all mobile devices, and if I want to reach 90% of my customers, I need 2 projects. One for Android, I can compile that to phone and tablets. Mm-hmm. Another project for iOS, I can compile that to phone and tablets. And the last 5%, I need 2 projects to get to Windows Phone and when are you getting the unified API that I can really have a one project and compile that to 2?
Well, the work is of course going on. Not all of the WinRT APIs are shared yet. They are going to be more and more shared. But I just have to note that, okay, if you want to target the last 5%, it's not going to be Windows Phone, because in Finland, Windows Phone is already 20% and growing, so it's not that different. But obviously, that's the business decision. Like, should we build like HTML5 on HTML5? Should we build a mobile site? Should we implement that in some kind of hybrid mode in PhoneGap or something like that? But in those kind of situations, probably the best approach is to put most of the stuff to the backend and use, for example, Azure Mobile Services that can give you the authentication, push notification, and CRUD for your data. That would be my approach. But thanks. That's very excellent question. Anyone else? Okay, back there.
Okay, so when you access URLs, you use web clients for Windows Phone, and you use HTTP clients for Windows 8. Why is that?
I see that Drazen has already left the room. No, here he is. Maybe Drazen can answer that kind of question.
I have no idea why Carl uses different versions.
No. Just an example, how just to clarify a different approach. There.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yep. Just wait for the mic.
Can you put XAML to the portable class library and share? No.
No.
Okay, so you cannot share user controls and styles like that.
Yes. So if you want to share something in XAML, like the user controls or resource dictionaries, then you can add them as link, or just like copy and paste. But yeah.
So is there other options than MVVM to make the app more portable?
Totally. Yeah, like it's
like, for example,
MVC. Like it's obviously just one, but commonly used in .NET world. Usually you want to use some frameworks like MVVM Lite and the different ones that are available for you there. But if you're just like starting to build for those both, or starting to learn MVVM, I wouldn't use any framework, because then it gets abstract a bit too far, and if you don't really understand the whole concept of MVVM, then you may get quite confused with like dependency injections and all the data binding side. Okay, we still have a couple of minutes, but if that's it, I think there was just enough of you. So the guys who asked questions, please come over here, and for others, you can go to the TechDays website, and select this one and hit me 5 stars. And thank you all.